Hey everybody, DK here with Mr. V Amps, and we've got a Fender Blues Junior that allegedly has the blues. I heard it at a band rehearsal. Dude was playing, and whenever he'd play a big chord or put something big and punchy into it, it was cutting out. And of course, I brought it back to the shop here to have a look at it, and it's being good so far. I wanted to demonstrate what it was doing, and of course now it won't. That's always the way. So I'm going to let it cook here for a little bit and see if I can get it to demonstrate it once it gets hot. It's possible that the technical issue was downstream with a pedal board or a cable or the instrument or something. But apparently it's been doing this for him for a few days now, and we're going to check it out. Even if I cannot produce the issue, I am going to go through the amp just to make sure the tubes are healthy and the solder connections on the tube pins and everything. These are PC board amps, and they can have some issues, but I'm going to let it cook for a little while and see if the problem crops up, and we'll break into it and just do some general maintenance otherwise if we can't reproduce the problem. Alright, cool. Okay, I think I might be onto something. Just going through and cranking the pots and seeing if any of them are crackly or scratchy or any of them are doing anything. The master volume pot here, which would obviously control the amount of sound coming out of the amplifier, between about 0 and 3 it moves. Once you get it from 4 to 12, it gets stiff as a board. Okay, so I am of the opinion, because I know the owner of it, he tends to play in places that require a lower volume, and I have a feeling this master volume just hasn't been worked up, and we just kind of got a dead spot in it. And if it's sitting right on the dead spot and then there's any kind of vibration, it may very well do that. Now, me coming in and just cranking it back and forth, which I do every time I get an amp in here, I just start spinning the knobs just to loosen anything up. But this is like, it is really stiff to get this up to the higher master volume levels. And I have a feeling there might just be kind of a dead spot or a flat spot on that master. Pots are kind of made to be turned, and you get that lubrication back going around in them. That is actually my #1 suspect on here. But we are going to still, pull it back and test the tubes and check that kind of stuff. But that master volume switch just, it's crazy. Between about 1 and 3 you can move it, and then you get to 4 and it's stiff. It'll turn up there. It works, but it's stiff. What the heck? Okay, so I'm testing the tubes over there, automatic tester. The power tubes on here, generally new tubes show up as about an 8 on the scale, and by the time they get to 5 or 4 they're considered weak, and anything below 3 they're dead, or considered about dead. They're reading a 6 and a 7 respectively, so they're about 2/3 of the way through their life. I've gone up here and cleaned all of these pots. These are a PC board mount pot. They're kind of weird to get the magic sauce in. We use the Max Pro Electronics lubricant cleaner. It's really good stuff. I know there's another YouTuber who is now using this stuff at my recommendation and gave me 0 credit for it. Thank you very much, you little weasel. Go buy it from my Amazon affiliate link. I'm a freaking dealer. Do somebody else a favor. Anyway, I'm not bitter. The other thing that we get with these is sometimes the heat of the tubes can crack the solder on this PC board that holds the tubes, and it doesn't look like they put a heck of a lot of solder on them in the first place. So, they were done probably quickly by a machine, and it's going to be hard to see, and I'm going to have to try to reach around by the ribbon cables. But I'm just going to give those a little bit more love, because they just, there's just barely enough solder on there to work. And a couple of those pads just don't look right. They just look kind of yucky. So we'll do a little touch up there. I'm not going to try to wiggle every one of these and find the one, zoom in close or whatever. We're just going to reflow them and see where it gets us. Okay, Houston, we found a problem. Yay. It's actually good. Okay, so I did reflow. I reflowed these. I can hear the reverb tank on here is kind of making little dinky poppy noises. I've got the volume on this thing just cranked to the gills. You can probably hear it hissing. And the reverb's kind of making little poppy noises because of noise. But here we go. Alright? Nothing happens. I'm using my fingernail because these little monkeys are hot. Ding, 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 ding. Doorbell. Okay, so that groove tube... Oh, that thing sings like a banshee. Listen to that thing. Let's really see if we can get it to sing. Boy, that's... Woo! There you go. So, Houston, we found a problem. I have some new 12AXs, but I think they're like luxury 12AXs, and they're going to cost Buddy a premium, but I think I have some healthy pre-owned 12AXs. Let's go with that for now, and then we'll discuss whether we want to just buy a new one for, you know, 20 bucks, or if we want to buy a luxury one for 50, 75 bucks, because I think that's all I got in the stash right now is luxury or used, and the used ones are fine, but, you know, if it works, it works. Okay, this is mildly annoying. Now, it might just be because this section is hot as heck. Quiet, quiet. I get a little bit of a ring. Now, it might just be because of extreme sensitivity, or because this is a used tube, we might still be in trouble. Let's see if we can find an even quieter one. Okay, so I went through the tubes in the stash, and some of them are either noisy or cranky or something, so we found the tube that it doesn't seem to matter what tube you put in there. If you really turn this amp to the gills, it will sound, you will be able to hear it, especially if you tap with your nail. If you tap with the tip of your finger, it won't ring so much. The original tube was definitely ringing, and you actually heard it sing and go into oscillation, or, you know, that ring was really going through. So the quietest one we found is an old timer. It's an old RCA. It's not old. It's not new old stock. It's not wonderful. It's got hours on it, but it still works. And if it works, if it works and it sounds good, it is good. So we're gonna run with that. I'm going to pull these ribbons. I pushed these ribbons down so I could get to the points. I'm going to pull these ribbons back up so they're not in the way. And then I think we're going to put the lid back on and give her a test. Potentially I could, you know, kind of wrap through the board here and see if any vibrations. Of course it's on, so I don't want to poke at it with anything other than a wood stick. Or a plastic stick, right? Duh. Alright, I've taken a few minutes to chopstick through the amp, as they refer to it as. Chopsticking is the process of poking around through a guitar amplifier with a wood stick. Here you just basically, you know, you can find people that do this all the time. You just poke on the various components. You just give a gentle tap on the board around each component, and you're just listening for a big pop or kablam, or the hiss that, you know, you turn it up loud enough that you get like a background hiss. You just listen for any kind of change or anything weird that would indicate a solder connection that may have failed. Don't see one. I think we're fine. So I'm going to wrap this ringy tube in a bag. And what's interesting is I think that, you know, if we would have even shuffled the tube, seeing how high gain and how sensitive that first valve 1 position is, I think that other tubes, you know, could have been, you know, if we would have just switched A for B, it would have got you through a show. But with the way that I got that tube to ring, I just don't trust it. So we'll go with our old tube here, which is being a little angel. So we'll let this cook for a couple minutes, put the lid back on, give it a sound test, and we'll call it okay for the time. Okay, when you have a hot sensitive amp like this, when you have it turned up like this, be very wary of noise sources. Your camera equipment can actually introduce noise, and your cell phone can. I had somebody call me on my cell phone, and the noise of my cell phone actually was enough to set this amplifier off. I almost wish I could call myself, but I had it sitting down next to the amp, and the signal of the cell phone started grinding. The amp started making a horrible noise. It's going brr, brr. And as soon as I heard the popping and clicking, I knew what it was. I picked up the cell phone and took it away, and of course the noise stopped. I have found that one too. I put my cell phone on top of like one of those custom 200s, and buddy, any amp with a lot of gain in it can hear your cell phone. All those wonderful signals floating through the air. So that's also why they foil back the amp in here. They put the foil back on the back there so it does not pick up as much interference. Alright, cool. Alright, sound check. This thing is a real little hothead. It's actually got a lot of gusto. It's kind of got a mid-range bump that I wish I could figure out how to weed out of there, but it's not my job to mod it, it's just my job to fix it. So cool. So it's not ringing. The crackly noises, that's admittedly a long cable going to my guitar, standing behind the camera, and camera equipment, guitar pickups can hear it, cell phones, amps and guitars can hear it. All this stuff is like sensitivity. Leave my cell phone in my pocket, put a Rickenbacker bass on, and the customs can hear the cell phone. It drives you nuts. Don't tell this amp it's a Fender. I don't think it knows. It does have a lot of gain, which is not what I think of when I think of a Fender. But it seems to be working okay. Hopefully dude's going to be a happy guy.